Welcome to the Doug and Mike Show. I'm Doug.
Hey, and I am Mike.
And we have real conversations with real people. Mike, do you guys talk about politics around the dinner table at the fire station?
Oh, the forbidden topic, right? You know, that one, you come in never fails, you come into the dining room or the washroom and the TV's on and it's on Fox News or CNN and then there's something said and then the conversation spins out and before you know it, you've revealed your political party and your favorite president and then the sparks fly. Of course we do, Doug, of course. You do as well, right?
Well, just you know, a little bit, but we try to keep it vanilla, like Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla.
But anyways, man, today we have our own superstar from Florida District 26. Omar Blanco's in the house running for Congress.
What's up,
Omar?
fellas? What's up, fellas? How are you?
Good, man.
Doing
Thank
great.
you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I mean, you got to be busy. If you're running for school board, you're busy. Can't imagine what it's like running for Congress.
I'll tell you, man, it is never ending, and but it's a phenomenal experience. You know, guys, Mike, Doug, we've all talked about and been very much involved in politics throughout the state of Florida, and oftentimes we've helped the candidates get elected. But now, having been on this side of the fence, I got to tell you, it's incredibly special. You know, we get to talk to a lot of the people in the community, and we also get to really bring to light a lot of what our fellow brothers and sisters in the fire service do every single day. You know, the truth is many people don't know what we do or don't understand what we do. You know, a lot of times they'll tell you, oh yeah, I watch Chicago Fire. I know what you guys do. And the truth be told,
I mean, that's not real? That's not real?
Earmuffs. I'm listening, dude. Don't ruin it for me.
But the truth is, you know, we get to see there's an incredibly powerful part about being part of this incredible fire service and working alongside, you know, some of the bravest men and women that we will have the pleasure and honor to know. But there's also a very dark side to our job. You know, I mean, dealing with death, tragedy, and even some of our own that really sometimes have to struggle. And, you know, you guys know very well the cancer issue for me was very personal. I lost one of my close friends and just too many people around me, as many of our brothers and sisters throughout the state did as well and throughout the country. So,
yeah, by the way, Omar, what you guys did with Miami-Dade and setting up all the bunker gear and the display on the state capitol, that I think that really was a tipping point of, you know, public opinion for us.
I just want to say that was one of those things, Doug, that became something bigger than we ever could have imagined. And that was because a bunch of firefighters got in the room and, you know, one idea turned into a complete momentum changer, I think, in Tallahassee. And it was a collective effort. I mean, there's no question in my mind that when we as first responders, firefighters, paramedics come together, put our mind on things, there's nothing that we cannot accomplish. So thanks for bringing that up, and I'll talk more about that anytime.
Yeah, so Omar, let's give you a proper introduction to our listeners, because I know some people out there may not recognize that voice and have seen that handsome face down there in South Florida, up here in Tallahassee. So you are a lieutenant, currently lieutenant on the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department. You are also a
that is correct. Yep.
IFF leader and married to your beautiful wife, Carolina, who's a school teacher, 2 children. Give us a little snapshot of your life, Omar. Give us a little ramp up of where you came from and how you got to where you're at.
Well, you know, I think as most of us in the fire service, you know, we come from very, I think, humble beginnings, right? I mean, the truth is, you know, the fire service is built on the shoulders of very with amazing the people that came before us and really made the fire service what it is today. But I was just a kid out of high school, wanted to be a firefighter. You know, it took me a while to get on the job. So I ended up doing work in the private sector for many years. But, you know, met the love of my life 21 or so years ago, got married 3 years later, happily married for now 18 years. We've got 2 amazing kids, Kevin and Lauren, my son, 17, my daughter 13, going on 20 something. But
I have one of those too.
buddy. And I'll tell you, man, it is, this job is something I'm so grateful for. So it's given us so much. The three of us met in the trenches, right? Fighting to protect, our brothers and sisters in the fire service from our retirement to cancer benefits, to PTSD. We've done about it all. And then we've always done it by having each other's back. So, to be here with you two on this show today is really all about, bringing it back to what's most important. I think it's the incredible fire family that we have, our brothers and sisters, and just making sure we're taking care of one another.
So how did you pick Congress to jump in this? How did that happen?
Doug, that's a great question. So I in having conversations, as you know, with a lot of our elected officials, a few of them always said, "Hey, you got to run for office." And I think after the enormous win that we got on cancer coverage, it was something that people started asking more about. And I think a few ideas were thrown my way, and the idea of the congressional district was something that really, in my heart of hearts, just felt like the right fit. I tell you, Carlos Corbello, who used to be in that seat before the current congressperson, is a close personal friend, and we talked a lot, and we worked his campaign hard. And unfortunately, he wasn't victorious a couple of years ago. But when we sat down one day to talk, he said, "You should do it." And I said, "I'd love to one day, but maybe some other time." And the truth is, that was just about the time when they were talking about the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund in Washington. And that really shook me at my very core. Here we came out of Tallahassee to help provide some benefits to our members in Florida. And you know how that was, is even though we had our stories, there were more, everyone I met, from the McKays, from the Ravens, the families that have just really been shook by cancer. I saw that the problem was bigger than just what I knew locally. And seeing it in Washington from our brothers and sisters at the at FDNY that sacrificed so much. And even after, the 9/11 tragedy, for years later, we're dying. We're just, families, just shook at their very core. So I kind of started to get a little perspective, and I started to do a little research, and I saw that Congress has like a 17% approval rating. And I really thought to myself, some of the new
goodness, isn't that crazy?
Oh yeah, it's less than 20, and it fluctuates. But I don't think it's ever gone above 20, which, recently to say. But I thought to myself, there's a lack of kind of real representation. And I started to kind of think about it from I've loved representing firefighters, paramedics, my dispatchers. I've loved doing that. It's been my greatest calling. I know that our job serving the public is amazing. But, to serve those that serve others, as you guys know, it comes with an extra special blessing in my eyes. So the thought started to shift by saying, well, what if I could be the representative for my district, for the people who live in my community, neighbors, a district that I think is lacking real representation. And I say is, you can be up in Washington and, be involved in all the federal issues, but you can also have a responsibility, and I think even greater responsibility, to be the voice and real representative of your district. That is ultimately what the title is about, House of Representatives,
Sure.
And so
tell us a little bit about what you think that job entails.
Well, I think one of the things is, listen, it's very dynamic. So my district that I'm running for, it goes from Southwest 8th Street to Key West. And, what's interesting about this district is it's, the Florida Keys are absolutely beautiful, very long and narrow compared to other districts.
Yeah, kind of remote,
Yeah. But there's a lot of dynamics. It's a highly Hispanic district. I think 69% Hispanic. But what I tell you is there is an important aspect of why there's over 450 representatives in the United States, and it's because we are a culmination of all Americans, you know. And I think that we have to lean on each other for our experiences, the history, to kind of evolve into who we are today, how we honor public service, how we honor, just our communities and the thoughts of the people we represent. And for me, not only as a firefighter, and God willing, I would be the first active firefighter in the U.S. House of Representatives and Congress, which is to me a great honor.
Wow.
Yeah, which would allow me to be a voice for many of the things that we see, the injustices we see that happen in our communities every day, but no one that is in Washington understands, like at the detail level, how this issue affects a family, who affects their children, who affects their neighbors, what affects their community at large. And I think that what we have is a very unique window, a very unique perspective when it comes to what happens in the average American home. We're in people's homes. They open doors. We're at their time of need. And it kind of like really is the fabric of who we are as public servants. And I think there's a disconnect, with some of our elected officials, not to say all of them, because I hate to give a blanket statement, but at least in my district 26 that I'm looking to represent, I believe that there is that disconnect. And I want to be the people's champion. I want to be able to give them a voice, to listen to what their concerns are. And as we often do, we triage the issues and we kind of focus on what's most important. I'm sure you guys see it too. A lot of times there's a lot of meetings and days of, discussing certain issues, but yet the more important ones seem to not get the amount of focus that they need. And to take it back to the whole 9/11 Victims Fund, I just thought it was the most un-American thing I ever saw when people that were dying, the police officer, our brothers and sisters in the fire service, were sitting there, and part of like their last plea was to make sure that these heroic people are protected. And I say heroic because, that's the truest form of bravery for us. These guys are there fighting for us, just like a lot of our, brothers and sisters who've battled and gone up and spoke in Tallahassee. They weren't going to benefit from the cancer coverage. Their families weren't going to benefit from the cancer coverage, but they wanted to make sure that none of us ever had to experience what it felt to not have the support for you and your family for everything that they sacrificed. And that to me is true heroism in my eyes.
You raise an interesting point too. I mean, you tell me, you kind of finish this thought here, but I feel like I believe that we've lost, I think the middle class particularly, and the average people, average working class folks have lost. There's some disconnect between governance, between what government is doing, whether it's at the local level, state level, and the national level, and how the process works and how to be involved in advocating on your family issues or neighbor or community issues and things. So I feel like there's a disconnect. Would you agree, and why?
Well, and yes, I do agree, because a lot of folks are relying on media, social media, to paint the picture of what's happening. But in our job, it's as real as it gets. When you have to hold a child who isn't breathing and give them CPR, and we've been in that situation where we've been successful and it's the best feeling in the world. And we've been in that other situation where there was nothing else we can do. And we have to break the news to the family. And, that pain is something that we all carry deep down inside. But how we come out of that is we continue to serve. I always tell somebody, if you're feeling down in the dumps, go serve somebody, go help somebody. That nothing lifts our spirits, and that's what's amazing about our job. We see the real. We see it's as real as it gets in our perspective. And in this country where we have a Congress that's divided by partisanship and by all these far-reaching issues, in the fire service, when the bell rings, in my station, it doesn't say engine 3, 43-year-old Republican complaining of chest pain, or or 32-year-old Democrat. That that isn't part of how we operate. And
right, we're colorblind.
Yeah, and we have we become so good at putting aside our personal views to serve the greater good. And we should be a model for those public servants in public office on how you get things done. I
Absolutely.
really believe that is why many of the folks that are in office today that were prior served in the military or police officers or firefighters, they bring an added value that I think most Americans have never experienced. And it's that connection that we build with the community that makes us that much more successful when we're up in Washington or Tallahassee or in your local governments advocating for doing what is right. Everybody in the fire service knows DTRT. It's something we live by. It's something that we appreciate and understand. And it's something that I think will serve me as the next representative of District 26 here in Florida.
Well, you got firefighters that are out supporting. I know that I've seen on your Instagram how you're collecting petitions and getting them signed on the weekend. What can firefighters do to help support you?
Doug, thank you for asking that question. And yes, I have an amazing support from my brothers and sisters. We have been doing petitions, but here's what I say to you is I'm competing with folks who have millions of dollars in funding from all over the world. And this is our opportunity as firefighters to come together. We don't need to have millions individually, but together we can put together a hell of a war chest to fight. And you know how it is. It's social media, it's TV, it's boots on the ground. It's all of that encompassing into a strong campaign. And what I would ask my brothers and sisters all throughout the U.S. is, hey, listen, go to my website, omarblanco.com, and make a contribution. $5, $10, hell, give me $26 for District 26. And I promise you, if we have over 300,000 firefighters, and imagine if every one of them gave me $1 or $2 or $5, this campaign would skyrocket overnight. And I wish that we could understand that, I think, at the firehouse level, the way we understand all the other issues that I think, Mike, you were alluding to early on in this broadcast. I think that's where we need to be. And, you and I have been up to some conferences, and I was at the ALTS conference, and, we'll throw a couple $100 down at the bar and have a good time and break bread and have a drink, because that is what we do as brothers and sisters in the fire service. It's the bond that keeps us together. But you know what? Put a couple bucks for a guy or girl who's running for elected office, state, local, federal, that's going to represent the fire service the way we've never been represented before. I say that because only a person who has worn the uniform, a person who has donned bunker gear, a person who has ridden on the rig really understands what every single one of us does every day. So if we can just put $5 in, $10 in, $26 in, we will empower a great movement as firefighters. And we will have one of our own in Washington that will not only make sure that firefighters are protected across this country, but police officers, first responders, nurses, people who we understand and appreciate because we have a bond. But at the same time, it's that relationship with our community, our relationship in serving where we live, where we want to raise our families. I think relationship, I think, is just instrumental to being an excellent public service. And I hope that with your blessing, your support of you and your listeners, that I can do that across our great nation. And I tell you, how awesome would it be to know that there is a firefighter in our capital, and that you as a firefighter would always be welcome to come in and talk about the job, what we do every day, and know that any issues that come up, someone will be your voice at the federal level, which I think is critically important.
Everyone should be paying attention to this race right now. Everybody, not just firefighters, but everybody in that district should be paying attention to this race, because, as you said, it's the people's government. You look at the millionaires and the billionaires and the doctors and lawyers that are in Congress, and it's so sad that we don't have regular people, regular blue collar folks that are, represent, like you said, different experiences. That's what this is all about, kind of this melting pot by which our nation, was formed and founded by, and continues to stand for. And so this is that race that, I talk to guys all the time and now up here in the North Florida, and they not even sure what's going on. And it's like, listen, we have to collectively help each other in these races. It's what's happening in every single congressional district in the country. We're pooling resources. We're trying to focus on what matters to us. I'm like, this matters to us. So, you've always been such a great dynamic leader. We met, like you said, in the trenches, working in the Capitol for firefighter issues and public safety issues, which are community issues. And you're a strong, great leader. I know you'll do a great job up there. I believe in you. We believe in you up here. We're grateful that you're sticking your neck out there to do that, because, quite frankly, who wants to do this job? Who wants to be an elected official? Who wants to be a politician? It's tough work. You put your family out there, you put your personal life out there, you run the risk of criticism and the mudslinging and all these things that happen. But we're grateful that we have you in our corner, and out there fighting for not just firefighters, but for all those important community issues. So I echo your challenge there for $26. If you're listening to this show, go to the website and omarblanco.com, make a contribution. Every single contribution helps, and it matters. Share out a story. I mean, there's more than one way to help here, right? I mean, share out a story, spread the news, spread the word, and just do whatever it takes for however long it takes to get a good brother in there like yourself that is truly going to make a difference. And I don't think I've ever been invited up to DC to a congressional meeting. So maybe when you get up there, you can be the first one to let me in.
I got to tell you, man, I love what you guys are doing. Really giving a voice to this phenomenal fire family that we have across the nation, and I look forward to continuing to listen to your podcast, and I get inspired by listening to the messages. But I'm going to ask all your listeners and all the firefighters and brothers and sisters out there to please go on my website, omarblanco.com, and to consider making a contribution. Look, $5, $10. I mean, imagine if we can compete on a national scale against some of these big money donors that are out there working against us. So I encourage all of our brothers and sisters across the United States to please make a contribution to the campaign and help us fight this battle through with the same energy that we know that we're all capable of. Thank you again. You can go to my website, omarblanco.com, and please follow our social media, Facebook, Blanco for Congress, Instagram, Blanco for Congress, and share it with your family and friends. I think at the end of the day, I look forward to not only being the first active firefighter in the US Congress, but more importantly, I look forward to being the champion for all firefighters, paramedics, first responders, because we see firsthand, the what's going on in the world, what's going on in our communities, and I want to be that representative, make sure that you guys are protected. So thank you again for your time. God bless you, and stay safe.
Just to say, we got to bring it in for a landing real quick, and we're going to do a live podcast from Washington. So Thank you,
There you go.
Omar, for being on the show. Make sure you follow our podcast on YouTube under Doug and Mike Show, and you can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Special thanks to our sponsor, Chief Miller. You can find him on Instagram at Chief_Miller. Have a great day.